So picture this. It's July 13th, 1865, and we are in New York City.
Right, in the thick of it.
Yeah, exactly. You're standing right in the middle of lower Manhattan, and the air is just thick with this choking black smoke.
Oh, wow.
Because P.T. Barnum's legendary American Museum is completely engulfed in flames. Like, total chaos is unfolding in the streets below. Exotic animals are breaking loose. Panicked patrons are fleeing. It's a mess.
Sounds absolutely terrifying.
It is. But up on the third floor, trapped by this massive wall of fire, is an 18-year-old woman.
And she's completely stuck, right?
Yeah, she can't run down the stairwells because the wooden steps have already burned away. And the fire brigade's standard wooden ladders, they're literally snapping under the intense heat.
Yeah, the fire brigade quickly realizes that, their standard rescue protocols are just entirely useless in this situation.
Right. But it's not just the fire. The bigger issue is that the standard infrastructure of the building simply cannot accommodate her in an emergency because she is of such immense, extraordinary size.
Exactly. I mean, they can't carry her. They can't just guide her out a window. They are forced to improvise engineering on a massive scale just to get one person out of a burning room.
Okay, let's unpack this because the logistics here are just staggering to me.
They really are.
It takes 18 grown men working in tandem to rig up an industrial block and tackle system right there on the street.
18 men, just for one person.
Right. We're talking about a heavy-duty pulley mechanism. The kind of machinery designed to multiply pulling force so dock workers can hoist massive cargo crates onto shipping vessels.
Yeah.
And they use this huge system of ropes and mechanical advantage to physically lower this teenage girl out of the third-story window down to the ground.
It's a completely cinematic, harrowing rescue.
Totally.
But, the tragedy of historical memory is that this singular moment of near-death spectacle is often, the only thing textbooks focus on.
Right, which is such a shame.
It really is, because the woman on the end of that rope was Anna Haining Bates, who was actually born Anna Swan. And she would eventually grow to be 7 feet 11 inches tall, making her one of the tallest women in recorded human history.
Yeah, and if you only know her as, the giant woman hoisted out of a burning building, or if you only view her through that superficial historical label of a Victorian sideshow act, you're missing out on a completely original narrative.
100%.
So our mission for you today on this deep dive is to take all these historical sources, the biographies, the medical records, and just look past the spectacle.
We really want to uncover the brilliant, fiercely resilient woman underneath all of that.
Exactly. Because this is a story about a person who outright refused to let her physical dimensions dictate her humanity.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you have ever felt out of place or, felt like the world just decided who you are just by looking at you, Anna's story is going to resonate deeply.
It really is. But to truly understand how she navigated the intense glare of 19th century fame, we kind of have to rewind a bit.
Okay, let's do it. Where are we going?
We need to leave the fires of New York and look at her origins in rural Canada, because her mind was expanding every bit as impressively as her body was.
Yeah. So we are starting in 1846 in a place called Millbrook, Nova Scotia.
Right.
And Anna is born to Scottish immigrant parents. But here is a detail that always catches me off guard. Her parents were of completely average height.
Yeah, they're just typical average-sized people.
Right. And out of their 13 children, Anna was the absolute only one who exhibited this kind of extreme growth.
Which is wild.
I mean, she weighed 13 pounds at birth.
Which is exceptionally large for a newborn, obviously. But the real anomaly began shortly after that.
Yeah.
Because what she was likely experiencing, though it was undiagnosed at the time, of course, was pituitary gigantism.
Right.
And this is a condition usually caused by a benign tumor on the pituitary gland, which basically forces the body to endlessly overproduce growth hormone.
Overproduce it to a shocking degree.
Exactly. The timeline of her growth is just difficult to comprehend. By her 4th birthday, she was already 4 feet 6 inches tall.
Wait, 4 years old?
4 years old, and she weighed 94 pounds.
See, I want to stop and just think about the physical reality of that.
Yeah.
Because we often hear these numbers and just think, oh, big kid.
Right, right.
But try to imagine navigating a world that feels like it was built at 2/3 scale.
Oh, absolutely.
Every doorway is a hazard. Every chair is structurally inadequate for you. And, the clothes never fit. It is like being forced to live inside a dollhouse.
That's a great way to put it.
And psychologically, think about adults looking at a 4-year-old of that size. They instinctively expect the emotional maturity of a teenager simply because of how big she is.
Which has to be incredibly isolating. The psychological dissonance would just be profound.
Yeah.
I mean, by age 6, she was 5 feet 2 inches tall. She was literally looking her average-sized mother straight in the eye at 6 years old.
Unbelievable.
And at age 10, she was over 6 feet tall and weighed 203 pounds.
Wow.
And by her 15th birthday, she hit the 7-foot mark.
At 15?
Yeah. And she wouldn't even reach her final height of 7 feet 11 inches until a few years later. She eventually had to wear custom-made shoes to accommodate feet that were over 14 inches long.
You know, my first instinct when reading those medical realities is to assume she must have just been miserable.
It's a natural assumption, yeah.
I mean, a kid in the 1850s growing to 7 feet tall in this tiny rural village, suffering the joint pain and the cardiovascular strain that comes with pumping blood through a frame that large.
Yeah.
You would think she would just hide away from the world.
You would, but the sources point to the exact opposite.
Right. She actually leaned into life. She threw herself into literature and music.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is the stark contrast between how the public viewed her formidable physical presence and the reality of her deeply refined intellect.
She wasn't just sitting around.
Not at all. She didn't just casually read books in a corner. She formally studied acting, piano, and classical voice.
Which is amazing.
We even have records of her taking on the incredibly complex, emotionally demanding theatrical role of Lady Macbeth.
See, taking on Lady Macbeth requires serious dramatic chops and an immense stage presence.
Oh, definitely.
She's occupying space, literally and figuratively. She is asserting that she has a voice and a mind that demand attention, not just a body to be gawked at.
That assertion of agency is crucial, because her sheer size in North America in the 1860s meant it was really only a matter of time before the 19th century's greatest showman found her.
Oh, P.P. Barnum.
Exactly. In 1863, when Anna was just 16, an agent for Barnum arrived in Nova Scotia with an offer to bring her to the absolute epicenter of American entertainment.
And they didn't just ask her to come along for the ride. Barnum offered her $1,000 a month to work at his American Museum in New York City.
$1,000 a month?
In the 1860s. That is life-changing wealth.
It was an astronomical salary. But, accepting it meant entering the Victorian sideshow industry.
Right.
And that's a world modern audiences rightly view with deep skepticism regarding exploitation. Performers were frequently treated as property, given zero autonomy, and exhibited purely for someone else's profit.
Wait, I need to challenge this a bit. Because how does a 16-year-old girl from rural Nova Scotia, who has never even left her province, know she has the leverage to negotiate with a millionaire titan like P.T. Barnum?
It's a great question.
You would think she would just sign whatever paper they put in front of her.
Well, it comes back to that intellect and her voracious reading.
Yeah.
She understood supply and demand.
Okay.
She likely read the newspapers, understood her own rarity, and recognized that Barnum had sent an agent all the way out to her remote village. They came to her.
Right.
That gave her the upper hand, and she possessed the incredible foresight to actually use it.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because she tells Barnum she will only accept the position on one non-negotiable condition.
Yeah, this is brilliant.
She says he has to provide her with a private tutor for 3 hours a day for 3 solid years.
It's incredible.
She demands a world-class education as a fundamental part of her employment contract.
Which completely dismantles the modern assumption that all historical sideshow performers were just helpless victims without any agency.
Absolutely.
Anna essentially told Barnum, if you are going to profit off my physical body, you are going to finance the expansion of my mind.
I love that. So she moves to New York. She is continuing her rigorous studies, taking voice and piano lessons.
Right.
But out on the exhibition floor, Barnum is doing what Barnum does best, fabricating extreme.
Oh, of course. Always exaggerating.
He bills her as 8 feet 1 inch tall, which isn't true. And he dresses her in these incredibly elaborate gowns made from, like, 100 yards of satin and 50 yards of lace.
The visual presentation was entirely calculated to overwhelm the senses. Barnum frequently paired her on stage with another performer known as Commodore Nutt.
Right, the guy who is much smaller.
Exactly, a man of very small stature. The whole goal was to maximize the visual extreme, placing them side by side to highlight the staggering contrast.
Let's relate that to today, because we think of this as archaic Victorian behavior. But we do the exact same thing now.
What do you mean?
Think about how modern social media algorithms work.
Oh, right.
They push the most visually extreme, highly contrasted content to the top of your feed because it generates immediate engagement.
That's true.
Barnum was just running a 19th century algorithm using human genes to optimize for attention.
That is an incredibly sharp parallel. She was the focal point of that attention economy, and she was really navigating a surreal duality.
Yeah.
By day, she was this massive, lace-covered spectacle, but in private, she was a dedicated student of the classical arts. And then the July 1865 fire happens.
A terrifying rescue we talked about at the top of the show. 18 men, the block and tackle, lowering her from the 3rd floor. I mean, she survives that trauma, goes back to Nova Scotia to recover, and then she actually goes back to work for Barnum at his new museum.
Which demonstrates remarkable fortitude, but also, financial pragmatism.
Yeah, she needed the income.
She was earning a level of wealth and independence unavailable to almost any other woman of her era.
Right.
But her resilience was tested again. In March of 1868, when Anna was just 21 years old, that second museum also burned to the ground.
I am struggling to process the psychological toll of that.
It's hard to even imagine.
Surviving one catastrophic inferno in a crowded public space is a defining life trauma. Surviving 2 of them by the time you were 21.
Yeah.
It is astounding that she didn't just walk away from public life forever right then and there. I mean, she does return home to Canada for a while, but eventually she chooses to resume her touring career.
She returned because the touring world offered her autonomy. But returning to the road eventually provided something far more valuable than financial independence. It brought her to the one person on the planet who could truly see eye to eye with her.
Yeah, so in 1871, Anna is 24 and touring in Halifax.
Right.
And a promoter realizes there is another circus nearby featuring a man named Martin Van Buren Bates, who is also remarkably tall. So the promoter engineers a meeting, hires Anna, and pairs them up to tour together.
It started purely as a business arrangement.
Right, just to sell tickets.
Exactly, to generate ticket sales by exhibiting 2 giants together. But as they toured across North America and then across the ocean to Britain, spending all this time together in a world built for people half their size, a genuine connection formed.
They fell in love.
They fell in love.
Think about what it means to finally find someone who shares your exact literal and figurative gravity.
Yeah.
Imagine spending your entire life from the age of 4 having people look up at you with shock, fear, or just this invasive curiosity.
It would be exhausting.
The isolation of that must be suffocating. It is like spending your life speaking a language nobody else understands, and then suddenly, at 24, hearing someone else speak your native tongue.
That's a beautiful way to think about it.
To find a partner who knows exactly how exhausting it is to have strangers constantly evaluating your body, it must have been a profound relief for her.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, their marriage in London in 1871 was far more than a romantic milestone.
Right.
It was a powerful reclaiming of their humanity. They were married at St. Martin in the Fields, which was a prominent church, and the ceremony caught the attention of the highest levels of British society.
Yeah, Queen Victoria herself took an interest.
She did.
The Queen actually gave Anna a stunning satin gown and a diamond ring for the wedding, while Martin received an engraved gold watch.
Incredible.
And they were billed as the largest married couple in the world, touring Europe for over a year as husband and wife.
But eventually they desired what so many people desire, a private life.
Just a normal life.
Exactly. So they returned to North America and bought a farm in Ohio. They designed and built a custom house with 14-foot ceilings, oversized doorways, and massive furniture.
Wow.
They essentially engineered a physical sanctuary where, for the first time in their lives, they fit perfectly and the rest of the world was too small.
They retired there to start a family. But this, where the story turns incredibly dark.
It does.
In 1872, Anna goes into labor and delivers a daughter who weighed a staggering 18 pounds.
Oh, man.
And, tragically, the baby was stillborn.
We really have to consider the medical reality of this.
Yeah.
Pituitary issues often complicate pregnancies severely. And delivering an 18-pound child in the 1870s, before the advent of modern obstetrics, fetal monitoring, or safe surgical interventions like C-sections,
It would just be devastating.
it would physically ravage the human body. The physical trauma was immense, and the emotional devastation for Anna and Martin is just difficult to fathom.
Yet they tried again. In 1878, she becomes pregnant while on a final summer tour.
Right.
And in early 1879, she delivers a son weighing 22 pounds, and measuring 28 inches long.
22 pounds.
Yeah, and to this day, he is still recognized by Guinness World Records as the heaviest and longest newborn ever recorded.
Wow.
But he only survived for 11 hours.
It is an unimaginable grief. And it raises a horrifying question about the nature of fame, really.
How so?
Well, how does a person process such profound, intimate loss when their entire life and their very body has been treated as public property?
That is the most brutal part of this.
Yeah.
How do you mourn a child when newspaper reporters are literally knocking on your door demanding the baby's measurements because your family is viewed as a public spectacle?
It's awful.
It is a heartbreaking invasion of the most vulnerable moment of a person's life.
Truly.
Following that loss, by 1880, Anna permanently retired from public exhibition. She stepped away from the crowds for good.
In that quiet, custom-built sanctuary in Ohio, Anna found a measure of the peace she had fought so hard for.
Yeah.
But it is a piece that was cut abruptly short. In August of 1888, just one day before she would have turned 42, Anna died unexpectedly in her sleep at home.
41 years old. It is incredibly young.
It is.
But she left behind an undeniable legacy, and she proved to be financially astute right up to the end. She left an estate valued at $40,000.
Which was a massive accumulation of wealth for a woman in 1888.
Exactly. And today, if you go to Nova Scotia, a museum near her birthplace actually preserves her personal belongings.
Oh, that's great.
And her life continues to inspire art. She recently served as the subject of a middle-grade novel in verse by author Sidura Ludwig.
It really speaks to our enduring fascination with her.
Definitely.
And not just because of her physical height, but because of the grace, intellect, and sheer determination with which she forced a world that was not built for her to accommodate her on her own terms.
So what does this all mean? For me, Anna Haining Bates' story is the ultimate masterclass in self-definition.
Absolutely.
She was handed a biological reality that made everyone she met instantly try to categorize her. They wanted her to be a freak, a monster, a silent giantess in a lace dress.
Yeah.
And she looked at that hand she was dealt and said, "No, I am a scholar, I am a fierce negotiator, I am a wife, a mother, and an actress." She flatly refused to let her most obvious physical trait be the only thing that defined her humanity.
This raises an important question about how history gets written.
Right?
It forces us to examine our tendency to boil historical figures down to a single visual characteristic or a single spectacular event, like a harrowing rescue from a museum fire, while completely erasing who they actually were behind closed doors.
Erasing the woman who was studying Shakespeare, demanding an education, and building a sanctuary with the person she loved.
Exactly.
And that brings us to the thought we want to leave you with today. I want you to imagine for a moment that a biographer is writing the story of your life, but they are entirely constrained by your most visible, obvious physical characteristic, whatever that is for you.
Yeah, think about that.
If they only judged your entire existence by that one visible thing, what profound, beautiful, complex parts of your human experience would history completely miss?
A whole lot, I imagine.
Because the flames and the spectacle might be what draw the crowd's attention, but the real story is always about the person figuring out how to survive the fire.